Hello everybody and welcome back to artofdino.com and saveearth.us, and I have got an interesting story that comes out of the Evening Star, Washington, D.C., Thursday, March 24th, 1932. It's called A New Origin Story Has Women First. Indians said weird sisters quarreled and tempter sent one to Rainbow. So this is a new one that I have never heard of, and apparently these people of this tribe around this time went to the Smithsonian to tell their story, and this is what came out of it. And it's one that I've never heard before, and it's relating to women at the center, and it has connections to the Tower of Babel and the temptation like in Genesis. So it brings up ideas and concepts about the universality of the world, how these stories all have different links together throughout time. They talk about how this story evolved from 5,000 miles from Babylonia but has some similarities. And so I think, again, this is more proof that the universality of the world and everything was connected at one point, and maybe they knew it. And it got kind of a game of telephone had gone on ever since, where the creation myth stories get passed on as accurately as possible, but things change and things mix and things get written down and things change for profit and things change for the kings and the rulers. So who knows what the truth about it is, but this is a very interesting story. The imagery is amazing, so I wanted to pump some of these things directly into AI and see what happens. So stay tuned for some cool art. It's all AI, but it has to be, because otherwise this would take me years to put out this one tiny video. So that's why. And the imagery is really cool as well. You never know what you will get. So stay tuned for that. It should go slightly along with the story. But check this out. Very interesting. And chime in, because I know you guys will connect what you hear with different things, as I will as well. So here we go. New origin story that I've never heard before. And maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but I doubt it. It's pretty random. So here we go. A new version of the fall of man through the temptation of women by the serpent has been found in a remote Indian village in New Mexico through the Smithsonian Institution, those trustworthy people. It forms part of the creation story of Carasan Indians from Acoma, one of the Rio Grande pueblos, and was obtained from tribesmen who recently visited the Smithsonian's Bureau of American Ethnology. Differing in almost every detail from the Genesis story, except for the temptation scene, it apparently rose independently 6,000 miles from Babylonia. See, that is what I disagree with completely, because I think these were all connected, and that's what they've deleted and erased from our truth. It has just been reported by Dr. C. Darrell Ford of the University of Wales, who studied the Indians at the Bureau of Ethnology. In the beginning, here it is, in the beginning, as the Acoma Indians told the story to the Smithsonian, two female beings were born and left alone in a dark place under the earth called Sipapu. There they grew slowly in the darkness. When they were grown to womanhood, a spirit who called himself Tait Cinco came into the dark chamber and announced that he had been sent from their father, Utsitsi, who dwelt in the fourth sky above, but who had made them in his own image. Fourth sky above sounds interesting. That sounds kind of like Jane's, with the different levels above and below. Later, Cinco brought them 2 baskets containing seeds and tiny images of different animals. The 2 women were instructed to plant the seeds of 4 kinds of pine trees and wait for them to grow until one of them broke through the roof and let in a little light. Then they were to climb the tree to the outer world. The 2 women slept for years while the trees grew slowly in the dark. Finally, one pressed its way through. The first ray of light they had known came to them, but the hole was too small for them to get through. Tinko told them to find the image of the beaver in one of the baskets and order it to come to life. When this was done, the beaver climbed the tree and enlarged the hole with his mouth. Then the image of the locust was brought to life and instructed to fly up and plaster the hole. He did so, but disobeyed instructions and took a short flight outside. For this reason he was condemned to die and return to the earth every autumn and to be brought to life again each spring. The 2 girls climbed out upon the earth through the hole the beaver and the locust had completed. One took the name of Ayatik, which means bringing to life. The other took the name of Nayotsiti, meaning more of everything in the baskets. These 2 were the primeval mothers of the human race. So again, very interesting, but there's more. But that whole imagery, the whole, like the seed of imagery or the basket of imagery, that reminds me of some interesting kind of technology, almost as if these people were brought Like they were born in darkness. Like there's some metaphor here. There's definitely many metaphors here, but there's probably some that are very interesting, or some literal kind of interpretation or ray of thinking about this that might make more sense. But to me, it seems like, there was like almost like an image, like some god came to them with this advanced technology in these baskets, and had everything that was needed for life, and they were able to choose and do these things. And the way they pick things, the order they pick things, is symbolic of things. Everything has meaning. Everything has more meaning than we can even fathom. But again, that reminded me of some tech, so I just wanted to bring that in there. Who knows how many times this place has gone up and down, tech to nothing, advanced to nothing, advanced to dust, etc., and back and forth. So we really don't know. And the origin of life is very interesting, because we really don't know where we came from, but we need to figure it out to help us and our souls yearn for the answer. Here we go, continuing. So these two were the primeval mothers of the human race. No sooner had the weird sisters, I'm not sure why they call it weird, but it's pretty not weird to me if you're the creator, like the gods of all life, but no sooner had the weird sisters escaped to the outside world than they fell to disputing over which was the older. That's what happens. It's still to this day tough to get along. They agreed that, especially when you're in power, that's the same thing, men, women, all of them, and right away they realized that, which is kind of sad if you ask me. Two goddesses just are about to create life. They just came into a new world, and the bickering already starts. It's like that yin yang. Like, God, why? I wish it was all just good, but I guess you can't have the good without the bad. So you need the bickering. So here we go. The weird sisters escaped to the outside world, and they fell to disputing over which was the older. They agreed that the distinction should go to the one on whom the sunrise first fell. Ayatik stole a march on her sister by bringing to life the image of a white bird, the magpie, from her basket and sending it to shade with its wings that side of the rising sun whose light would fall on her sister. Catty. Nyotsiti was extremely angry over the trick. Here is the Acoma equivalent of the Tower of Babel account of the division of races. Ayatik's skin was tinged by the sun, and she became red. Nyotsiti remained white. Again, very interesting. They have this similar character, the similar kind of thought process of how the tribes spread and the people spread and the races spread. It all must stem from something, like the universal truth. It must stem from that, and then has just been gradually just depleted ever since. But somewhere you can trace it back, and somewhere within these myths is the answer. So it says, the next part says, lonely after quarrel. And this is also, again, kind of sounds like the tribes of like Noah and all those people as well. Very similar, again. Lonely after quarrel. After the sisters quarreled, Nyotsiti was extremely lonely. In this state, she was tempted by the suave serpent, who induced her to go to the rainbow for companionship. She bore 2 children of this alliance. Utsiti had other plans for populating the world. He was so angry at the way Nyotsiti had balked in his plans that he refused to help anymore. Thus, presumably, sin and morality were introduced into the world. Very interesting. And again, how they piece it all together with like social things, like social connections and social situations end up being symbolic of this, the beginning of the world and the creation of the senses and the things that make life and humans human. So very interesting. As time went on, Nyotsiti conceived a violent hatred for one of her children. She departed with the other child to become the mother of the white race. Ayatik adopted the infant and cared for it. Later, they became the parents of the Indian race. Before the sisters parted, they shared equally the seeds and images in the baskets, and one at a time brought to life all the plants and animals now on earth. Ayatik also created the gods she and her people were to worship. She was extremely melancholy after she had been left alone. So very interesting as well. She created the gods after she was left alone. And maybe, again, is that what happens to humanity when they're left alone? They have to create a creator, have to make stories. You have to make sense of why our purpose somehow and our miracle, which can be intense if you're left alone. And it's just crazy. I love this story. This is one of my favorites. So here we go. Among her creations were the spirits of the seasons, who remain prominent in the Indian worship associated with the 4 points of the compass. There was Kakak, the ugly and ferocious spirit of winter, whom she set to rule on the North Mountain. Mount Yama, life-bringing spirit of spring, which reminds me of Buddhists, the yamas, a lot in Buddhism, you see that word, who ruled on the western mountain, spring. Maya Tauma, which sounds kind of like Montezuma, but also kind of like, again, like Buddhist, Jainism words. Spirit of Maya Tauma, spirit of summer, whose abode was on the southern mountain. And Cruis Fichya, the death-bringing spirit of autumn, set to rule on the eastern mountain. It seems unlikely that the introduction of the serpent as the tempter of women could have been the result of imitation. Smithsonian ethnologists point out, since it is the only element of this typically Indian creation myth which in any way accords with the Genesis account, in an entirely different emotion, loneliness, instead of vanity, on the part of the women is introduced. So again, and that's it right there, but very interesting. I absolutely love this story. Got everything we need, all different elements from a lot of different things, and its own unique thing as well. And again, I mean, and I like the story of a woman creator, to be honest, because on Earth here in the microcosm of the greater whole, the women are the ones that create life, and they need the men, they need the seed of the men, but they create life on their own. So again, is there a symbolism there? The man comes, the man God comes, provides the seeds, provides the imagery, provides the kind of the creative explanation for it. You know, maybe there's different layers of gods, maybe there's different layers, maybe they broke through one particular realm, but there's more. Someone put them in that realm, which was an undergrowth of the above realms, but maybe above the other realm. There's so much to possibly think. The imagination just goes wild with stories like this. And the symbolism, the connections between the greater and the as above, so below, all this stuff, it's all there. And I believe, again, that it doesn't just point to a totally different theory. I think it points to a time when things were connected. And if they weren't connected, like by means of things, you know, as time goes on, these stories change. Like I said, the telephone thing, they could also be connected in the spiritual realm. There are all kinds of hallucinogenic, entheogenic properties and different things, products or growths or plants in the New Mexico region, from mushrooms to peyote to frogs. All these different things are there. And when you go, a lot of people that use those end up seeing giant serpents and end up experiencing these things that follow the archetypes or follow some kind of things. And if you're back in the day and you don't know how much to take and you take a ton, you're going to go into a crazy world and you're going to see amazing things. You're going to get visions. You're going to have all these different things, and your whole world is going to be tossed around. And then when you come down, you're going to bring it into this reality, and who knows what will happen? Who knows if civilizations were built that way? Diseases cured, like everything. If cities found, cities developed, architecture discovered through that realm, medicines discovered, everything. Who knows? Creation, spirituality, religion, all of it. So many different possibilities out there. We've got to use our imagination and keep finding things like this. And you never know how true these are, but they all hold some shred of magic that connects us to the ancient world when all of these things were at one point known. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But I like to think about it all and envision it. So I hope you all enjoyed all this theoretical stuff, and I hope you enjoyed that story. Chime in below, spread it, share it, because YouTube ain't going to do nothing for me anymore. They do nothing. So I need your help in spreading these things, because otherwise I'll probably stop soon enough. But either way, I thank you all for being here and checking this out. Check out artofdino.com and saveearth.us and help support us if you can. We really appreciate it. Bless you all.